The assembly hall stretched across 3 kilometers of the station called Zenith Prime. 200 different species filled the chamber, each in their designated section. The air filters worked hard to keep everyone breathing. Commander Jack Morrison stood in the human section, watching the debate unfold on the massive screens above. The Vrexians were speaking again. High Chancellor Zolth raised his 4 arms, gesturing at the star map displayed for everyone to see. The outer veil glowed in blue light, showing hundreds of untouched worlds. "Resources beyond measure wait for us," Zoth said through the translation device. "Minerals that could power our civilizations for 10,000 years. Habitable worlds with no current owners. We waste time debating when we should be claiming." The insectoid Krell clicked their approval. Their representative, a massive creature that stood on 6 legs, tapped the floor in rhythm. Other species joined in. The Thorians, the Mexel Union, the separate colonies, all agreed. The outer veil represented the greatest expansion opportunity in galactic history. Dr. Lisa Grant stood next to Jack, her hands gripping the railing. She had spent 5 years studying the data from the outer veil. Every report told the same story. Something was wrong with that region of space. "They will not listen," she whispered to Jack. "They have to," he replied. But even as he said it, he knew she was right. The council speaker, a floating Zentari named Vess, called for any final comments before the vote. Jack activated his communication panel. "The human delegation requests to speak." The chamber grew quiet. Humans were new to the council, only 300 years into space travel. Most species saw them as children playing with adult toys. The Vrexians had called humans the babies of the stars more than once. Jack walked to the central platform. The lights focused on him. 200 species watched with various degrees of interest or boredom. "Members of the council," Jack began, "humanity asks you to reconsider this expansion." Laughter rippled through several sections. The Vrexians laughed the loudest. Jack continued. "We explored the outer veil 40 years ago. We sent 3 research missions into that region. What we found troubles us deeply." "You found empty space," Zoth interrupted. "Empty worlds, waiting for civilization." "We found something else," Jack said. He gestured, and Lisa activated their presentation. Images filled the screens. Survey data, energy readings, pattern analysis. "These worlds are not empty because nobody discovered them," Jack explained. "They are empty because something keeps them that way. We detected energy signatures that do not match any natural phenomenon. We found patterns in the data that suggest intelligence, but not intelligence as we understand it." A Krell scientist made a dismissive sound. "Your instruments were primitive. Your analysis is flawed." Lisa stepped forward. "We brought better instruments on the 2nd mission. And the 3rd. The patterns remained. More than that, they responded to our presence. Equipment began to malfunction in specific ways. Crew members reported dreams that multiple people shared. And in 3 separate locations we found settlements." That got their attention. The chamber went silent. "Settlements from who?" Speaker Vess asked. "We do not know," Lisa said. "They were old, thousands of years old, maybe more. But they all ended the same way. Buildings intact, technology functional, but every living thing gone. No bodies, no signs of battle, just absence." Jack took over again. "We studied those dead settlements for 6 months. We found logs in 2 of them, translated them. Both spoke of something they called the silence that removes. Both warned others not to claim these worlds as permanent homes. Both were ignored." "Fear-mongering," Zoth declared. "Humans see danger in shadows because your own history is violent. You project your wars onto empty space." Other species agreed. The Mexel representative spoke about how young species often feared the unknown. The Thorians suggested humans needed more time to mature before participating in major decisions. Jack felt frustration building but kept his voice calm. We are not asking you to abandon exploration. We are asking for caution. Send observation missions first. Study the region for 10 years, 20 years. Understand what lives there before you bring colonists. Nothing lives there, Zoth said firmly. Your own scans show no life signs, no cities, no ships, no communication. You found old ruins and let fear control your judgment. Lisa pulled up more data. These energy readings do not match anything in council records. The patterns repeat across 17 different star systems. That is not coincidence. A Krell scientist examined the data and made another dismissive sound. Natural phenomena. Your interpretation adds meaning where none exists. Space is full of unusual energy patterns. This proves nothing. The Zentari representative, normally an ally to humanity, spoke gently. Perhaps humans are seeing intelligence in natural patterns. It happens. Our own people once believed solar flares were messages from angry gods. Jack realized they were losing. He made one final attempt. We are asking for one thing: caution. If we are wrong, you lose nothing but time. If we are right, you save lives. Millions of lives, maybe billions. Or we lose a generation of expansion while humans catch up to our level of development, Zoth said coldly. We vote now. Speaker Vess called for the vote. The screens lit up with responses. Green for approval, red for rejection, blue for abstaining. The greens dominated. 173 species approved the Outer Veil Colonization Initiative. 12 voted against. 15 abstained, including humanity. Jack watched the results with a sinking feeling. Lisa's hands trembled slightly as she gathered their data files. They will learn, she said quietly. They will learn the hard way. The council dismissed for the day. Species filed out, already making plans for their colonies. The Vrexians celebrated loudly. The Krell began immediate coordination for their hive construction. Jack and Lisa walked back to the human quarters in silence. Other human delegates waited there. Lieutenant Greg Palmer looked up as they entered. How bad? He asked. As bad as it could be, Jack replied. They approved everything. Full colonization begins within 6 months. Nina Hayes, their communications officer, shook her head. They called us cowards on 3 different news channels already. The Vrexians are saying we tried to claim the Outer Veil for ourselves and failed. Jack sat down heavily. Send a message to Earth Command. Tell them to pull back all human vessels from the Outer Veil region. Establish a safety perimeter. Nobody goes within 50 light years of the border. What about council trade routes? Greg asked. Reroute them. I do not care what it costs. Our people stay away from that region. Lisa stood by the window, looking out at the stars. How long do you think before the first colony disappears? Jack did not answer immediately. He remembered the empty settlements they had found. Buildings with food still on tables. Vehicles left running. Everything in place except the people. Gone without a trace. Gone without a fight. Just gone. 6 months to establish colonies, he said finally. Maybe another 6 months before they notice something is wrong. A year at most before they realize we were right. Will they evacuate then? Nina asked. Jack looked at his team. Good people. Smart people. People who understood that the universe held things beyond human understanding. No, he said. They will send the military. They will try to fight. And they will learn that some things cannot be fought. He stood and walked to the communications console. Send one more message to Earth Command. Tell them to prepare. When this falls apart, when species start demanding answers or blaming us, we need to be ready. Greg nodded. You think they will blame us? We warned them, Jack said. We told them exactly what would happen. When 6 months passed quickly, the colony ships launched with great celebration. The Vrexian Empire sent 40 transport vessels to Sigma 7. a world with perfect atmosphere and rich soil. 50,000 colonists made the journey, full of hope and ambition. The Krell built their hive structures on 3 separate planets, each housing millions of their kind. 12 other species claimed their territories across the outer veil. Jack Morrison watched it all from Orbital Command Station 7, high above Earth. The monitoring room held dozens of screens showing data feeds from across human space. But Jack kept one screen dedicated to the outer veil. He could not look away. Lieutenant Greg Palmer brought him coffee every morning. Today was no different. "Still watching?" Greg asked. "Always," Jack replied. "Lisa thinks the first incident will happen within 90 days. What do you think?" Jack took a sip of coffee. "I think it already started. We just do not know it yet." Nina Hayes worked at the communications station nearby. She sorted through reports, filtering out the important information. Most of it was routine. Colony status updates, resource surveys, building progress. Everything seemed normal. "Vrexian Colony Sigma 7 just sent their weekly report," Nina said. "Population stable. Food production ahead of schedule. They sound happy." "Any anomalies?" Jack asked. Nina pulled up the detailed data. "Nothing major. Some equipment malfunctions in the northern sector, a few colonists reporting odd dreams, standard stuff for a new colony." Jack sat up straighter. "What kind of dreams?" "Let me check." Nina read through the medical reports. Multiple colonists reporting the same dream. They see empty buildings. They walk through streets with no people. They feel like they are forgetting something important but cannot remember what. Jack and Greg exchanged looks. "That is how it starts," Greg said quietly. "Flag that colony for priority monitoring," Jack ordered. "I want updates every 6 hours, not every week." The days passed slowly. Jack barely slept. He kept waiting for the alarm that he knew would come. Lisa joined him most nights, bringing her research data. They compared notes, looking for patterns. "3 more colonies are reporting similar dreams," Lisa said on the 14th day. "Krell Hive World Secondus, Thorian Settlement New Hope, and Mexel Colony Prime. Different species, different planets, same dreams." "What are the council scientists saying?" Jack asked. Lisa made a bitter sound. "Stress from relocation. Psychological adjustment to new environments. They have 100 explanations that do not involve the truth." On the 18th day, the alarm finally came. Nina's screen lit up red. "Jack, we just lost contact with Sigma 7. Everyone in the room stopped working. Jack moved to Nina's station immediately. "What happened?" They were transmitting their daily report. Mid-sentence, they just stopped. No warning, no distress signal, just silence. Jack felt his stomach drop. "Try to re-establish contact." Nina worked the controls. No response. All communication channels are dead. "Could it be equipment failure?" Greg asked, though his tone said he already knew the answer. "Checking satellite feeds," Lisa said from her station. She pulled up visual data from observation satellites near Sigma 7. The images showed the colony clearly. Buildings stood intact. Lights were on. Vehicles moved through the streets. But something felt wrong about the images. "Increase magnification on the central plaza," Jack ordered. The image zoomed in. The plaza should have been full of people. It was midday at the colony, the busiest time. Instead, the plaza stood empty. Vehicles sat abandoned in the streets. A door swung open and closed in the wind. "Where is everyone?" Nina whispered. Jack opened a secure channel to Earth Command. "This is Commander Morrison. We have a situation in the outer veil, requesting permission to alert the Council." The response came quickly. "Permission granted. Proceed with caution." Jack contacted the Council emergency line. Speaker Vess responded within minutes, his floating form appearing on the screen. "Commander Morrison, what is the emergency?" "Vrexian Colony Sigma 7 has gone silent. Our satellite feeds show the colony intact but completely empty. No people, no bodies, no signs of struggle, just like the ancient settlements we warned you about. Vess was quiet for a moment. The Vrexians are sending a ship to investigate. They believe it is a communication malfunction. It is not a malfunction, Jack said firmly. This is what we warned would happen. You need to evacuate the other colonies immediately. Based on one incident? Commander, you are overreacting. I am trying to save lives, Jack replied. Please at least put the colonies on alert. Tell them to watch for the warning signs. What warning signs? Shared dreams, equipment failures, a feeling of being watched, and silence. When the silence comes, it is already too late. Vess promised to pass along the warning. Jack knew it would not be enough. The Vrexian battlecruiser Hammer of Justice arrived at Sigma 7 3 days later. The whole galaxy watched the live feed as the ship approached the colony. Jack watched from his station. His team gathered around. The feed showed landing teams entering the colony. They moved through empty streets, calling out. Their cameras captured everything. Houses with meals still on tables, computers running, a children's playground with toys scattered on the ground. Everything suggested normal life, interrupted suddenly. No bodies, the team leader reported. No blood. No signs of violence. It is like everyone just vanished. The Vrexian commander demanded answers. Where are my people? What took them? Jack watched as the team searched building after building. They found personal items, clothing, everything that suggested the colonists had lived there. But the people themselves were simply gone. Check the population registry computers, the Vrexian commander ordered. A tech specialist accessed the colony's main computer. Sir, according to these records, 50,000 colonists arrived 6 months ago. Current population shows 0, but there is no record of anyone leaving or dying. The computer shows them present in one log entry, then absent in the next, with no explanation. The feed cut off suddenly. Jack tried to re-establish connection, but got nothing. Nina? What happened? The battlecruiser just went dark too, Nina said, her voice shaking. No signal, no response. Lisa pulled up the satellite feed. The battlecruiser floated in orbit above Sigma 7, all lights on, engines running. But no one responded to hails. Jack knew what the satellites would show if they could see inside that ship. Empty corridors, empty bridge, empty crew quarters. Another vessel with all its systems functioning perfectly, but every living thing gone. The council convened an emergency session 6 hours later. Jack attended remotely, his face on one of the many screens. Zoth stood at the center, all 4 arms shaking with rage. The humans are responsible for this. They warned us away because they wanted the outer veil for themselves. Now they use some weapon to remove our people. We have no such weapon, Jack said calmly. And we warned you exactly what would happen. This is not humanity's doing. This is what lives in the outer veil. Then what is it? Demanded the Krell representative. Show us this enemy. Where are their ships? Where are their armies? They do not have ships or armies, Jack explained. We call them the Silence. They are not a species as you understand it. They exist in ways our science cannot fully explain. They do not communicate. They do not negotiate. They simply remove what should not be there. Ridiculous, Zoth said. You speak of ghosts and monsters. We deal with reality. This is reality, Jack replied. We experienced it 40 years ago. We lost a research team the same way. They were there, and then they were not. We left immediately and never went back. A Thorian scientist spoke up. If what you say is true, why did your people survive? Why did the Silence not take all of you? We left, Jack said simply. We did not try to stay. We did not try to build. The moment we recognized something was wrong, we evacuated. The Silence responds to permanence, to the attempt to claim their territory. The longer you stay, the more you build, the stronger the response. So we abandon our colonies? Zoth asked. We let fear drive us away from resources we need? You let wisdom save your lives, Jack said. Evacuate now. Take everything you can carry and leave. Do it quickly before more people disappear. But even as he said it, Nina was pulling up new reports. 3 more colonies had gone silent. A Krell hive world, a Thorian settlement, a Mexel research station, all of them showing the same pattern. Buildings intact, systems running, people gone. The council erupted in arguments. Some species demanded immediate evacuation. Others, led by the Vrexians, insisted they would not run. They would send their fleets. They would find this enemy and destroy it. Jack tried one more time. You cannot fight the silence. You cannot kill something that is not alive in any way you understand. You cannot destroy something that exists between moments of reality. Your only choice is to leave. Then you are cowards, Zoth declared. The Vrexian Empire will not run from shadows. We are sending the 3rd Fleet to the Outer Veil. We will protect our colonies. We will find what took our people, and we will have justice. 12 other species agreed. Their fleets would join the Vrexians. Together, they would face whatever threat lurked in the Outer Veil. Jack closed the connection. He sat in silence for a long moment, his team watching him. They are going to die, Lisa said softly. Yes, Jack agreed. Send orders to all human vessels, pull back to minimum safe distance, close our borders to council traffic. No one enters human space who has been to the Outer Veil. The combined fleet gathered at the edge of the Outer Veil. 15,000 warships from 14 different species, all bristling with weapons that could crack planets. Admiral Zeth commanded from his flagship, the Dominion's Pride, a massive vessel that could carry 50,000 troops. Jack Morrison watched the deployment through long-range sensors. His team had set up a monitoring station at the border of human space, far enough from the Outer Veil to be safe, close enough to observe. They had to witness what was about to happen. Someone had to record the truth. They are moving in, Greg Palmer reported. Formation looks solid. They are taking this seriously. It will not matter, Lisa said from her station. She had been running simulations for weeks, trying to predict outcomes. Every simulation ended the same way. You cannot fight something that does not exist in the same reality as you. The fleet split into battle groups, each assigned to protect specific colony worlds. Admiral Zeth kept the main force mobile, ready to respond to any threat. On paper, it was a perfect strategy. In reality, it was meaningless. The first 3 days passed quietly. The colonies reported feeling safer with warships overhead. Colonists who had been preparing to evacuate started unpacking again. Maybe the humans were wrong. Maybe their presence had scared off whatever lurked in the darkness. On the 4th day, a Krell hive world went silent. The fleet battle group assigned to that world, 200 ships strong, arrived to find the hive intact. The massive structures stood as tall as mountains, housing 5 million Krell. The ships orbited cautiously, scanning for threats. No enemy contacts, the battle group commander reported. No unusual energy readings. Everything appears normal. Send landing teams, Admiral Zeth ordered. Find the colonists. The teams descended into the hive structures. Their helmet cameras transmitted everything they saw. Empty corridors that should have been filled with millions of insects. Food processing centers running but producing for no one. Egg chambers where young Krell should have been hatching, all empty. This is impossible, the team leader said. 5 million beings do not just vanish. But they had. Somewhere between 1 hour and the next, an entire hive world had been emptied of life. The teams searched for 3 days and found nothing. No bodies, no signs of struggle, nothing that explained where 5 million Krell had gone. Then the patrol ships started disappearing. Scout vessels sent to check on colonies would report normal findings, then go silent. Support craft ferrying supplies between larger ships would vanish mid-flight. At first, the crews assumed communication failures or accidents, but when they found the vessels, they discovered something worse. Nina Hayes monitored the fleet communications from Earth. She heard the growing panic in their voices as commanders realized what was happening. Patrol Vessel 7 located, a rescue team reported. Ship is intact. All systems functional. Life support active. No crew present. All personal items remain. Meals half-eaten in the galley. It is like they disappeared mid-action. Jack listened to the reports with a heavy heart. He had tried to warn them. He had begged them to leave. Now he could only watch as the disaster unfolded exactly as he had predicted. Admiral Zeth refused to retreat. "We have found no enemy," he broadcast to his fleet. "Nothing has attacked us. We are fighting fear, not an actual threat. All ships maintain positions." But the disappearances continued. Entire crews would vanish from ships while their commanding officers were on the bridge. Soldiers standing guard would look away for a moment and find their companions gone. It was not just happening in space either. The remaining colonies reported the same thing. People would be there one moment, absent the next, with no transition. The fleet scientists tried to explain it. They set up monitoring equipment, trying to catch the moment of disappearance. They recorded everything with multiple cameras, from multiple angles. Jack watched the footage they released. A Mexel soldier stood in a corridor, clearly visible on 3 different cameras. He was looking at a data pad, reading something. Then, between one frame and the next, he was gone. Not fading, not transported, not moving. Simply not there anymore. The data pad he had been holding clattered to the floor. "Physics does not work that way," a Thorian scientist declared on the fleet communication channel. "Matter cannot simply cease to exist. This violates fundamental laws." "Maybe the laws do not apply to the silence," Lisa said quietly, though only Jack's team could hear her. Admiral Zeth tried everything. He ordered ships to work in pairs, watching each other. Crew members were told to maintain constant visual contact. He established mandatory check-ins every 10 minutes. Nothing worked. The silence did not care about their procedures. 2 weeks into the deployment, Zeth sent a private communication to Jack. Nina intercepted it and played it for the team. The Admiral's face showed exhaustion and something Jack had never seen in a Vrexian before: fear. "Commander Morrison," Zeth said, his voice lacking its usual confidence, "I am requesting any information humanity has about this threat. How did you survive your encounter? What did you do differently?" Jack responded immediately. He owed them that much, even if they had not listened before. "Admiral, we survived because we left. The moment we noticed the first anomalies, we evacuated. We did not try to study it. We did not try to fight it. We recognized we were in danger and we ran. That is the only way to survive the silence. Leave everything and get out." "You are asking me to abandon 3 trillion colonists," Zeth replied. "I am asking you to save whoever you still can," Jack said. "Every moment you stay, you lose more people. The silence responds to permanence, to occupation. The colonies are already lost. Your ships will be next if you do not retreat." Zeth was quiet for a long moment. "Can weapons stop them?" Jack felt a deep sadness wash over him. "Admiral, you are asking the wrong question. The silence is not a them. It is not a species. It is not individual beings you can shoot. Asking if weapons can stop the silence is like asking if bullets can stop time or missiles can destroy gravity. You are trying to fight a fundamental aspect of reality that you do not understand." "Then what are they?" "We have theories," Jack said. "Some of our scientists think they are a natural phenomenon, like an immune system for space itself. Others think they are artificial, a defense mechanism left by some ancient species. A few believe they are something that exists in dimensions we cannot perceive, and we only see the effects when they interact with our reality. But we do not know. We only know that they are there. They respond to permanent settlement, and they remove what should not be. Remove to where? Zeth asked. That is what makes them the Silence, Jack said softly. They do not kill. They do not transport. They do not leave bodies or traces. They simply make it so that you were never there. Like the universe forgets you existed. And we have no way to bring anyone back. The communication ended. Jack did not know if Zeth would order the retreat. He suspected not. Pride was a powerful force, and the Rexian Empire had never retreated from anything. He was right. Zeth kept the fleet in place, but he changed tactics. Instead of protecting the colonies, he ordered all ships to gather in one location. Safety in numbers, he thought. If they stayed together, watching each other, maybe they could avoid the disappearances. It did not work. Lisa tracked the fleet positions. They are clustering around Admiral Zeth's flagship, 15,000 ships in a tight formation. They are making themselves a bigger target, Greg said. Over the next week, the fleet shrank, not through battles or explosions. Ships simply started going dark. 1 here, 2 there, 10 at once. Their lights would stay on, their engines would keep running, but no one would respond to communications. Rescue teams would board the silent vessels and find them empty. The recordings from those rescue teams haunted Jack. He watched as soldiers moved through ships that should have been full of people, beds still warm, computer terminals logged in, coffee cups still hot, but no one there. It is like a plague, Nina said, her voice shaking, but instead of killing, it erases. The fleet began to fracture. Species started arguing about who was to blame. The Vrexians accused the Krell of bringing some kind of curse. The Krell blamed the Thorians for disturbing something they should not have. Everyone looked for explanations that made sense, enemies they could understand and fight. Some captains stopped listening to Admiral Zeth. They broke formation and tried to run. Some made it out of the outer veil, others did not, their ships found drifting days later, empty and silent. Jack watched the fleet composition shrink on his displays. 15,000 ships became 12,000, then 10,000, then 8,000. The rate was accelerating. The more ships remained, the faster they disappeared. They are losing, Lisa said unnecessarily. They are losing to an enemy they cannot even see. On day 23, Admiral Zeth finally gave the order to retreat. But by then, it was too late for most of the fleet. Only 7,000 ships remained. 8,000 vessels drifted through the outer veil, fully functional but crewless. 3 trillion colonists were gone. Hundreds of thousands of military personnel had vanished. The surviving ships fled in chaos. Discipline broke down. Captains pushed their engines beyond safety limits, desperate to escape. Some ships broke apart from the stress. Others collided with each other in their panic. Jack's team tracked the exodus. Of the 7,000 ships that began the retreat, only 6,000 made it out of the outer veil. The final 1,000 disappeared even as they tried to flee, erased by something that did not care about their fear or their regret. The galaxy watched in horror. Every major news network showed the footage. The mighty fleet that had entered the outer veil with confidence now limped home, broken and defeated. But they had not been defeated in battle. They had been defeated by absence, by silence, by something that simply removed them from existence. Admiral Zeth's ship survived the retreat, but barely. When he finally docked at a council station, he looked like he had aged 20 years. His 4 arms trembled. His voice shook when he spoke. Commander Morrison was right, he said in a broadcast that reached the entire galaxy. We should have listened. We should have evacuated when we had the chance. We went to fight an enemy and found something we cannot comprehend. Something that does not fight, does not kill, does not even acknowledge our existence. It simply erases us, and we have no defense against that. The council chamber had never been so full of anger. Representatives from 200 species crowded the space, many standing rather than sitting. The atmosphere felt ready to explode into violence at any moment. Jack Morrison stood in the human section, watching the chaos unfold. Next to him, Colonel Danny Price had replaced Lisa as the second human representative. Danny was younger, harder, with less patience for diplomatic games. Earth Command had sent him specifically because they knew this session would be different. High Chancellor Zoth was gone. He had resigned in disgrace after the disaster. His replacement, Chancellor Merk, stood at the Vrexian section looking for someone to blame. "The humans knew!" Merk shouted, his forearms gesturing wildly. "They knew what waited in the outer veil, and they did not share full information. They warned us but gave no details. They let us walk into destruction." Other species joined in. The Krell representative clicked angrily. "Humanity voted against colonization but never explained why. They kept secrets. They wanted us to fail." Jack started to speak, but Danny grabbed his arm. "Let me handle this." Danny stepped forward to the central platform. His voice carried clearly through the chamber, hard and direct. "You want to blame humanity? Fine. Let us talk about what actually happened. Commander Morrison stood in this chamber and told you exactly what would happen. He said the outer veil was dangerous. He said something lived there that removed colonists. He showed you data. He showed you the dead settlements. He told you to be cautious. And you laughed at him." The chamber erupted in protests. Danny spoke over them. "You called us cowards. You said we were too primitive to understand. You mocked our warnings and our data. When we refused to participate in colonization, you accused us of trying to keep the resources for ourselves. Every single thing we told you would happen did happen. And now you want to blame us for your own stupidity?" Chancellor Merk's face darkened. "You should have made us understand. You should have forced us to listen." "How?" Danny demanded. "Should we have attacked your colony ships? Should we have destroyed your fleets before they entered the outer veil? We told you the truth. We showed you evidence. We warned you clearly and repeatedly. You chose not to believe us." "That is not our failure. That is yours." A Thorian representative stood. "But humanity must have known more. You survived your encounter. You must have found a way to communicate with the silence to protect yourselves." "We survived because we ran away," Jack said, taking over from Danny. "That is the secret. That is the whole answer. When we saw the warning signs, we evacuated immediately. We did not try to study the silence. We did not try to communicate. We did not send fleets. We recognized danger and we left. That is all." "That information would have saved lives," a Mexel diplomat argued. "We gave you that information," Jack replied, his patience wearing thin. "I told Admiral Zeth directly that leaving was the only way to survive. I told the Council the same thing before the vote. What more could we have said? We warned you that colonization would lead to disappearances. We warned you that sending military forces would not help. We told you to evacuate. Every piece of information we had was shared. You chose not to act on it." The Zentari speaker Vess, who had been quiet until now, floated forward. "The humans are correct. I reviewed the recordings of the original council session. Commander Morrison was clear about the danger. We dismissed his warnings. That was our choice, not his failure. But not everyone accepted that truth. The chamber split into factions. Some species recognized their own mistakes. Others looked for someone to blame. The accusations grew worse. Humanity had decades to study the outer veil, a Krell scientist insisted. They must have found something useful. They are hiding knowledge that could help us. Danny laughed, a harsh sound. You think we have some secret weapon against the silence? You think we know how to fight something that erases people from reality? We do not. We know how to avoid it. That is all. We know how to stay away from places that will kill us. That seems like basic survival to us, but apparently it is too difficult for more advanced species. The insult landed hard. Several representatives demanded Danny be removed for disrespect. Jack stepped in before the situation got worse. We will open our research to any species that wants it, he offered. Every scan, every report, every piece of data we collected from the outer veil, you can have all of it, but I warn you now, it will not help. It will only confirm what we already told you. The silence is there. It responds to permanent presence. It removes what should not be. And we have no defense against it except distance. The offer created another division. Some species wanted the data, hoping to find something humanity missed. Others saw it as an admission of guilt, proof that humanity had been holding back information. The council session dissolved into chaos. Representatives shouted at each other. Old alliances fractured. New accusations flew. The Vrexian Empire, desperate to deflect blame from their own failed leadership, pushed hardest against humanity. The humans must pay compensation, Chancellor Merck declared. 3 trillion souls were lost. Someone must answer for that. You want us to pay for your mistake? Danny asked coldly. You want us to compensate you for ignoring our warnings? That will not happen. Earth will not give you a single credit, not a single resource. We told you what would happen. You chose not to listen. The cost is yours to bear. That statement ended any chance of diplomatic reconciliation. 16 species formally demanded humanity be expelled from the Council. Others threatened sanctions. The Vrexian Empire began moving military assets toward the borders of human space. Jack sent an emergency transmission to Earth Command. We need to leave Zenith Prime immediately. The situation is breaking down. Some species are talking about forcing us to share information, possibly through military action. The response came from Admiral Hayes, Nina's father and head of Earth's defense forces. Permission to evacuate granted. All human personnel are to return to Earth space immediately. We are closing our borders. Any ship that enters human space from Council territory will be turned back or destroyed. The human delegation packed quickly. Other humans working on Zenith Prime in various roles did the same. Within 6 hours, every human had left the station. They traveled in a convoy of 12 ships, all armed, all ready to fight if necessary. As they departed, Jack watched Zenith Prime shrink in the distance. The station that had represented galactic cooperation now represented division and blame. The council that had been formed to unite species was falling apart. What happens now? Nina asked from the navigation station. Now the galaxy tears itself apart, Danny said bluntly. Some species will accept what happened and move on. Others will look for revenge. They will blame each other, blame us, blame anyone except themselves. The council will fragment. Trade will collapse. We are looking at decades of chaos. Back on Earth, Jack reported to Admiral Hayes in person. The meeting took place in the secure command center deep under North America. The political situation is worse than we expected, Jack explained. The council is splitting into dozens of factions. The Vrexian Empire is the most aggressive. They are demanding humanity provide technology to fight the silence, technology we do not have. They are threatening military action if we refuse. Admiral Hayes studied the reports on his screen. Can they actually threaten us? The Vrexian fleet is badly damaged, Jack said, but they still have enough ships to cause problems, and they might convince other species to join them. Many species are angry and looking for someone to blame. Let them come, Danny said firmly. We warned them. We told them the truth. If they want to start a war over their own failures, we will defend ourselves. Lisa, who had been working on analysis, spoke up. The Vrexian Empire is not our biggest problem. They are loud but weakened. The real danger is the dozens of species that are quietly preparing. Some are trying to develop weapons against the silence. Others are planning new expeditions to the Outer Veil, convinced they can do better than the Vrexians did. And all of them remember that humanity warned them, which makes them either respect us or hate us. Admiral Hayes made a decision. Earth is going dark. We close all borders. We recall all ships from Council space. We stopped participating in galactic trade and politics. Let them sort out their own mess. We tried to help and got blamed for their disaster. We are done. It was a historic decision. Humanity had worked for 3 centuries to join the galactic community. Now they were walking away from it. But Jack felt relief more than regret. The Council had become toxic, dangerous, and beyond saving. News of Earth's isolation spread quickly. Some species protested, saying humanity was abandoning them. Others celebrated, claiming they never wanted humans involved anyway. The Reform Coalition, a group of 80 younger species, sent a private message to Earth requesting that humanity reconsider. They saw the truth and wanted humanity's guidance. 5 years passed. The galaxy looked nothing like it had before the Outer Veil disaster. The Grand Council existed only in name, a shell of its former power. Where once 200 species worked together, now dozens of small alliances competed and argued. Jack Morrison stood on the observation deck of Earth's primary orbital station, looking at the stars. He was older now, his hair showing gray at the temples. 5 years of watching the galaxy tear itself apart had aged him. Commander Nina Hayes joined him at the window. She had been promoted after her father retired. Now she oversaw all of humanity's external communications. The Reform Coalition sent another message, Nina said. They want to meet in person. They say they have something important to discuss. Jack had been expecting this. The Reform Coalition had grown over the years. What started as 80 species now included 120. They represented the younger civilizations, the ones who had learned from the disaster rather than looking for someone to blame. Tell them we will meet, Jack said. But it has to be on neutral ground, not council space. They suggested the crossing, that independent station between sectors. Jack nodded. That works. Set it up for next month. I want Danny and Lisa there too. The meeting took place exactly 1 month later. The crossing station was small compared to Zenith Prime, but it was truly neutral, owned by no government, maintained by a collective of traders and merchants. The conference room held representatives from humanity and 30 species from the Reform Coalition. Kess, the Zentari leader, spoke first. Thank you for agreeing to meet. We know humanity chose isolation after the disaster. We respect that choice, but we have learned much in these years, and we believe the galaxy needs human guidance. Guidance doing what? Danny asked directly. He never wasted time with diplomatic language. A Thorian scientist named Jex answered. We have been studying the silence, carefully and from a distance. We believe we understand them better now. But more importantly, we have been creating new protocols for exploration and expansion. We call them the Caution Accords. Lisa leaned forward with interest. Tell me more. Jex activated a holographic display. The Accords are based on 3 principles. First, absence of detectable life does not mean absence of intelligence. Second, territory that remains empty across millions of years is empty for a reason. Third, expansion must be balanced with observation, and all warnings must be investigated seriously. You learned that from watching 3 trillion people die, Danny said bluntly. Kess did not flinch from the harsh truth. Yes, we learned it at terrible cost, but we did learn. The question is whether humanity will help us apply these lessons going forward. Why would we? Jack asked. The galaxy blamed us for the disaster. 16 species voted to expel us from the council. The Vrexians threatened war. Why should we help any of you now? A young Mexel diplomat named Vor spoke up. Because not all of us blamed you. Some of us tried to support your position from the beginning. We were outvoted and ignored, just as you were. We are not asking you to forgive the species that wronged you. We are asking you to work with those of us who want to do better. The meeting continued for hours. The Reform Coalition presented their plans for a new galactic organization, one based on caution rather than aggressive expansion. They wanted humanity to be part of the leadership, to bring the experience that came from their earlier encounter with the Silence. Jack took a break to discuss with his team privately. "What do you think?" he asked Danny and Lisa. "I think they are sincere," Lisa said. "They have done real work on understanding what went wrong. These protocols are solid." "But?" Jack prompted, hearing the hesitation in her voice. "But there are species still trying to weaponize the Silence, still trying to expand into dangerous regions, still refusing to accept the truth. The Reform Coalition is good, but they are not the whole galaxy." Danny added his perspective. "We have a choice. We can stay isolated and safe, let the galaxy make whatever mistakes it wants, or we can try again, work with the species that actually learned something. I am tired of isolation. I think we can do some good here." Jack thought about it carefully. Humanity had paid a small price 40 years ago to learn about the Silence. The galaxy had paid a massive price 5 years ago. The question was whether enough species had truly learned the lesson. "We will participate," Jack decided, "but with conditions. We will work with the Reform Coalition only. We will not engage with species that still blame us or refuse to accept the truth. And if another situation like the Outer Veil happens, if we warn you and you ignore us again, we will leave permanently. Agreed?" Kess and the other representatives accepted immediately. They needed humanity's experience more than humanity needed their alliance. Over the next year, the Reform Coalition formalized into the Collective Understanding. It was smaller than the old council, but more focused. Species joined by accepting the Caution Accords and agreeing to put safety before expansion. Jack became the director of human outreach, leading Earth's delegation. Danny and Lisa served as his primary advisors. Together, they worked to teach other species what humanity had learned about the unknown. But not everyone was happy about the new order. The Remnant Alliance, led by the largest Vrexian successor state, refused to accept the Caution Accords. They saw them as weak, as surrender to fear. General Carix, who commanded their military, believed humanity had discovered a way to control the Silence and was hiding it. "They survived," Carix told his council. "They went into the Outer Veil and came out. That means they found something, some way to protect themselves or communicate with the Silence. They are lying to keep that power for themselves." Despite warnings from the Collective Understanding, Carix prepared a secret operation. He would attack Earth's research facilities and seize any information about the Silence. His fleet of 500 warships gathered in a hidden location, preparing for the strike. The plan never reached Earth. As Carix's fleet traveled through an uncharted system near the Outer Veil, they encountered the Silence again. Humanity's long-range observation posts detected what happened. Jack watched the recordings with his team, feeling a familiar horror. "They did not learn," Nina said quietly. "Even after everything, they still did not learn." The footage showed Carix's fleet passing through the system, detected what they thought was a shortcut to Earth. The Silence responded. Over 20 minutes, 500 warships were emptied of their crews. The vessels drifted on their original course, engines running, all systems functional, but with no one left alive to control them. Except one ship. General Carix's flagship was found 3 days later with one person still aboard. Carix himself, alive, but changed. When rescue teams reached him, he could barely speak. His eyes stared at nothing. He kept repeating the same words over and over. "They are not entities. They are not empty space. They are the universe remembering what balance means." The doctors could not help him. His body was fine, but something fundamental had broken in his mind. He had seen something in those 20 minutes, experienced something that human understanding could not process. He lived, but would never be the same. The incident destroyed the Remnant Alliance's credibility. Species that had followed Carrick's aggressive stance reconsidered their positions. Many asked to join the collective understanding. The caution accords became accepted policy across most of the galaxy. 5 years after the meeting at the crossing, Jack stood before a memorial on Earth. It was a simple structure, a wall of names listing every being lost to the silence. 3 trillion names carved in stone, representing all species. At the bottom, a plaque with a simple message. They were warned. May we honor their memory by listening to warnings in the future. Representatives from 120 species attended the memorial ceremony, not to celebrate but to remember, to acknowledge the cost of arrogance and the value of caution. Jack gave a short speech. We do not build this memorial to say we were right. We build it to remember that warnings matter, that experience matters, and that sometimes the hardest thing to do is admit we do not understand something. 3 trillion beings died because the galaxy refused to accept that truth. We honor them by learning from their deaths. After the ceremony, Jack met with Lisa and Danny in his office. They looked at reports from across the galaxy. The collective understanding was growing stronger. New exploration protocols were working. Several species had found dangerous regions of space, and instead of rushing in, had established observation posts and quarantine zones. We are making progress, Lisa said. More species are adopting careful approaches to expansion. The culture is changing. Too slowly, Danny said. There are still dozens of species trying to find ways to fight or control things they do not understand. The silence is not the only danger out there. What happens when they encounter the next unknown threat? Jack looked at the star map on his wall. Then we hope they remember this lesson. We hope they ask for advice before taking action. We hope they understand that just because you can do something does not mean you should. Nina entered the office with new reports. We are getting requests from younger species, ones that joined space travel recently. They want humanity to mentor them, to teach them how to explore safely. That is good, Jack said. That means the lesson is spreading to the next generation. The conversation turned to the future. Dr. Lisa's research team, now including scientists from 30 different species, had made progress understanding the silence. Not how to fight them or control them, but how to detect regions where they might exist, how to approach such regions safely, how to observe without triggering a response. We published our findings last month, Lisa explained. The key is temporary presence, brief visits, small crews, minimal infrastructure. The silence seems to tolerate temporary presence but responds to permanent settlement. It is like the difference between walking through someone's home versus moving in uninvited. So, limited exploration might be possible? Jack asked. Maybe, Lisa said carefully. In a few decades, with proper protocols and extreme caution. But we are talking about sending small teams for days, not colonies for years. The outer veil will never be suitable for colonization. We have to accept that some places are simply not for us. That acceptance was the real change. Before the disaster, the galaxy believed everything was available for claiming. Now species were learning that the universe had limits, boundaries that should not be crossed. Jack received a final message before the end of the day. Admiral Zeth, the Vrexian commander who had led the doomed fleet, had died. He had never recovered from the trauma of watching his people disappear. He spent his final years living quietly, refusing to speak about the outer veil except to say one thing repeatedly. Morrison was right. We should have listened. Jack felt sadness for the old admiral. Zeth had been arrogant and wrong, but he had also been brave enough to admit his mistake. That took courage. As the day ended, Jack stood at his window again, looking at Earth below. Humanity had come through the crisis stronger, more respected, but also more isolated in some ways. They had learned that being right did not make you popular, that warning others of danger often made them angry rather than grateful. But they had also learned that standing firm on principle mattered, that sometimes the most important thing you could do was say no, even when everyone else said yes. Nina joined him at the window. "Do you think we will face something like the silence again?" "Yes," Jack said without hesitation. "The universe is full of things we do not understand. The question is whether we will approach them with caution or with arrogance, whether we will listen to warnings or dismiss them. The galaxy learned this lesson at terrible cost. I hope we remember it next time." "And if we do not?" Jack was quiet for a moment. "Then we will learn it again, and the cost will be just as high." The lights of Earth glowed below them, peaceful and safe. Humanity had earned its safety through caution, through the willingness to run from danger rather than fight it. That lesson had seemed cowardly to other species once. Now it seemed like wisdom. The final report came from the border stations monitoring the outer veil. The region remained empty. The drifting ships left behind by the vanished fleet were still there, automated systems keeping them functional even after 5 years. No one had tried to reclaim them. No one dared enter the outer veil to retrieve anything. It stood as a monument to hubris. 8,000 vessels floating in space, eternal proof that some warnings should be heeded. Jack closed the report and looked at his team. "Tomorrow we meet with 6 new species who just achieved faster-than-light travel. They are eager to explore, to expand, to claim their place in the galaxy. What do we tell them?" "We tell them the truth," Danny said. "We tell them about the outer veil. We tell them about the silence. We tell them that the universe is full of wonders and full of dangers, and the hardest part is knowing which is which. We tell them to be careful," Lisa added, "to respect what they do not understand, to accept that some places are not meant for us. And we tell them that when someone warns you," Jack finished, "especially when they warn you based on experience, you listen. Because the universe does not care about your confidence or your technology or your military power. It only cares whether you were wise enough to listen when it mattered." The next morning, Jack would teach that lesson to the new species, and the morning after that, to others. It was humanity's role now, not to lead through strength, but to guide through experience. To be the voice that said, "Be careful," when others rushed forward. To be the ones who remembered what happened when warnings were ignored. The universe had taught its lesson brutally. 3 trillion beings had paid the price. Now it was humanity's responsibility to make sure that price bought something valuable. Wisdom, caution, and the understanding that survival sometimes means knowing when to walk away. Jack met with the Reform Coalition's representatives through secure communication. Their leader, a Zentari named Kess, spoke earnestly. "We know the council failed," Kess said. "We know our own leaders made terrible mistakes, but not all of us were part of that decision. Many younger species tried to support humanity's position. We ask that you not abandon us completely." Jack considered carefully before responding. "Humanity will maintain contact with species that showed good judgment. We will share information with those who actually listen, but we will not rejoin the council. That organization is dead, even if it does not know it yet." Over the following months, the council continued to fracture. The Vrexian Empire broke into 3 smaller states, each claiming to be the legitimate successor. The Krell Collective closed its borders entirely. 40 species went isolationist like Earth. Trade routes collapsed. Wars broke out over resources and old grudges. The galaxy that had been united, however imperfectly, fell into chaos. And at the center of the chaos was a simple truth that most species still refused to accept. They had been warned. They had ignored the warning, and 3 trillion beings had paid the price for that arrogance. Jack watched it all from Earth, feeling a mix of sadness and vindication. Humanity had tried to save them. The galaxy had chosen not to be saved. Now everyone would live with the consequences. Jack watched the broadcast with his team. They sat in silence as Zeth described the horror of watching his fleet disappear ship by ship. The Admiral spoke of crew members who vanished while talking to him, mid-sentence. He described finding ships that should have held thousands of people, all empty except for the echo of their voices, still playing on communication channels. "He finally understands," Greg said quietly. "Too late," Lisa replied. 3 trillion people too late. Jack stood and walked to the window of the command station. Beyond the glass, Earth turned slowly, peaceful and safe. Humanity had learned its lesson 40 years ago at much smaller cost. The galaxy had refused to learn from humanity's experience. Now the lesson had been taught again, written in the absence of 3 trillion souls who simply ceased to be. "They will call us cowards again," Greg said. "Let them," Jack replied. "We will be living cowards. They will be dead heroes. I know which I prefer." He looked at the screen showing the outer veil. 15,000 ships were gathering, the largest military force in galactic history. They were brave, determined, and completely unprepared for what waited for them. "How long before they realize they cannot win?" Nina asked. Jack remembered the empty colony, the silent ship, the vanished crews. "They will realize it," he said. "The question is whether they will realize it in time to save anyone. T does happen, they will look for someone to blame." "We are the convenient target." Lisa turned from the window. "We did everything we could." "I know," Jack replied. "But we will still have to watch as they walk into disaster. We will have to watch as people die. And we will have to live with the knowledge that we saw it coming and could not stop it." The human delegation sat in silence as the station buzzed with excitement around them. Somewhere in the outer veil, something waited. Something that had waited for thousands of years. Something that did not care about galactic councils or colonial ambitions. Something that would teach the universe a lesson it would never forget.